There are many interesting stories told in Top Boy Season 3. We get to see the value of friendships, family, money, and unity develop all at the same time. But one of the themes that seem to fall between the shares is the untold story of growing up too fast. In Jamie, we get to see a young kid who, because of very unfortunate circumstances, is forced to wear a lot of responsibility and take on different roles and juggle difficult tasks all at once.
It's called parent. It's called being a good dad. You ain't my dad, bro. Yes, I am. No, you're not. Yes, I am. No, you're not. Listen, big man thing. See me, I'm your father, yeah? I'm your mother, I'm your older brother. Do you understand? See, when you're grown up, do you understand? Team. It's not about the years you got, it's about the head you got.
At the bare age of 22, we see Jamie taking on the role of a mother, father, big brother, breadwinner, boss, mentor, soldier, and even attempting to take on the role as a boyfriend before his efforts get shut down due to some unforeseen circumstances. It's difficult to grow up without parents at a young age, and without parental support, your chances of succeeding in life are greatly diminished. The accumulating effects of growing up without parents can have lasting consequences, which sometimes can never be fully reversed. Being everything to everyone at a young age isn't something exclusive to Jamie. I believe there's a couple of you watching this video who can empathize and relate to the struggles Jamie faces. And that's one of the reasons I decided to try and create this video. This video is not an attempt to explain your unique experience, but more so to use Jamie's story to shed some light on the visible repercussions of growing up too fast and without any parental support. You, however, are more than welcome to share your own experiences in the comment section down below. Growing up too fast usually means that you have to sacrifice a whole lot of experiences and miss out on the average things people your age enjoy. For Jamie, it meant not having enough time to date, being forced to put his academical pursuits on hold, and make sure his brothers, Aaron and Stefan, have food on the table before he even thinks of anything else. Already, in the first episode, we get to see an example of Jamie playing 4 different roles in a span of 1 minute.
Jamie, my geography teacher, Mr. Evans, don't like me. Always being sarcastic comes on my homework. Look, man.
Bro, I'm busy. I'll be there in a minute, yeah? Alright, show me the sarcastic comments.
No.
Steph, I was just busy doing something, just show me.
Go away.
What, you want me to go away, yeah?
Yes. Where you going?
Out, innit?
Where?
Why do you care? Yo, I want to see this kitchen clean when I come home. What? Nah, man, I swear down Stefan's
I've got geography.
You heard what I said, innit? Just make sure this kitchen's clean. I want to see no dirty dishes in the sink when I come back. That's cool, say no more. Yeah. Looks good, though.
Jamie?
Yeah?
What time will you be back?
Late.
Wake me up when you come in.
I'm so proud of you, though.
At first, he is the busy father doing work-related stuff. Then he becomes the nurturing mother who's concerned about his children's academical pursuits. Then he becomes the cocky big brother until he finally goes back into being the father again. And in every other scene we get to see Jamie in, he looks stressed out, his thoughts are cloudy, and his days are filled with struggle, uncertainty, and doubt. Doubt that if he can continue on without losing the grip of one of all the areas in life he needs to take responsibility and control of. Control being the key word here. Control is typically a counter-reaction to the very fear of losing control. People like Jamie who struggle with the need of being in control often fear being at the mercy of others, and this fear may stem from traumatic events that left them feeling helpless and vulnerable in the past. As a result, they may crave control in disproportionate and unrealistic ways that are not sustainable in the long term. Being in control of a lot of things means that you have to make a lot of difficult decisions. No one is going to give you the right answers, and even less people are going to be willing to take you seriously. We see one of those aspects come to surface when Jamie, for example, tries to deal fairly with his younger brother Aaron. However, he struggles to convince Aaron due to Aaron, rightfully so, pointing out the inconsistencies in Jamie's own behavior. For example, telling Aaron to value school but being a high school dropout himself. The underlying message isn't wrong, but you're always going to have a hard time influencing someone when you yourself haven't lived out your own words, or even worse, if you're doing the complete opposite. Children often copy what you do and not what you say. Being a young role model is hard, and we see that again and again. Jamie's judgments are not always sound, and most of the times he ends up making mistakes, but at the very least he develops a sense of accountability. He has no one else to rely on besides himself, and him being forced to make adult decisions when he himself is just a child is almost like having to learn how the world works whilst having his eyes covered and both of his hands tied behind his back without a mother. When it comes to a child's development, an absent mother is not a trivial matter. From the very beginning of a child's life, the mother is the most important figure of attachment. A child's overall development is shaped by different aspects, from their physical needs to their emotional life. The relationship between a child and their mother or father is a vital part of their mental and emotional development. This isn't to say that Jamie or his brothers are visibly behind the 8 ball in terms of their mental or emotional development. After all, Aaron comes across as being a very mature teenager, and Stefan seems to be a very sweet kid. But some things are always going to leak out. In Stefan, we see the longing for a father figure, which gets displaced on Jamie, and in Jamie, we see something more interesting that I'd like to shine a light on. An observation that stuck with me throughout the show was Jamie's fixation on Lizzie. At first, the lust Jamie has for Lizzie seems to be strictly sexual, but as the relationship develops between them, the relationship starts to become a bit one-sided. We already know from a previous interaction with Lily that Jamie isn't the one to give up on the first attempt when trying to charm someone from the opposite sex. But the dynamic between Lizzie and Jamie is different. Being a younger guy attracted to an older woman isn't necessarily something wrong. However, more often than not, if there's a significant age difference of say 20 or more years, it may very well be that the male, Jamie in this case, could have a borderline personality disorder or have a good number of borderline traits. Why do I say this? People, both male and female with borderline personality disorders, are seeking someone to reparent them so that they receive the nurturing and caretaking that they feel that they didn't receive when they were children. You could call this mommy issues if the older partner is male, or daddy issues if the older partner is female. When someone is entertaining someone else considerably younger than them, or is constantly fantasizing about sexual partners who are 3 or 4 decades younger than them, that person might be narcissistic as well, as in having narcissistic personality disorder. Caution, before I continue analyzing, I want to state that I'm simply giving my take on their relationship. I'm by no means a professional psychologist. I do, however, study the different fields of psychology, but I'm not a professional. I'm well aware that not all men or women who pursue much younger partners are narcissistic. I'm simply referring my analysis onto Lizzie, who I see exhibit traits that indicate that she might be one. Boys who have been psychologically broken often pursue older females because they consciously or unconsciously search for someone who will reparent them. So, for example, when you encounter a young man in his early 20s who marries or enters a relationship with a woman in her mid to late 40s, he's likely doing this because he needs or wants someone to take care of him. Jamie seems to be able to take care of himself and his brothers just fine, but he probably has abandonment anxiety and feel as though a much older woman is less likely to leave him for another man. This isn't to say that Jamie has had problems with relationships in the past, but having his mother just pass away very abruptly can cause a feeling as though he has been abandoned by his mother, even though it wasn't intentionally, but the psychological damage is still there. A younger female with borderline personality symptoms who marries a man much older than her does so for the same reasons as the male who's scared of being left for another man. This is commonly known and understood by therapists who specialize in diagnosing and treating individuals with narcissistic personality disorders and borderline personality disorders. Without a father.
What would a Vietnam vet be like without a sergeant, without any backup, without any other soldiers, nobody but a Vietnam vet in Vietnam? When he came home, how would he be? And that's me. I had to go through all that street, war, everything, the same drugs that everybody else get turned out on. You know, where I would have been stopped short, I made it past. And here's where I am. But because I made it past, I missed some lessons. You know what I'm saying? And you can see the lessons that I missed when you talk to me. You can see where I haven't had a father when you talk to me. You know what I'm saying? You can see where I spent a lot of my time in the streets when you talk to me. Because the words that I say are not words that come from a mother's mouth or a father's mouth. It's words that comes from a pimp's mouth or a prostitute or a hustler or a drug dealer. You know what I'm saying? But to me, these were my role models.
Regardless if Jamie felt ready or capable to shoulder the responsibility that was put on him, he had no other choice than to go out and provide for his family the only way he really knew, which was selling food on the streets. Just like the outward manifestations of not having a mother, over time, it became apparent to see in which areas Jamie lacked a father figure as well. Traditionally speaking, the role of the father is to be the rock that the whole family can rest on and feel safe behind. The father is usually the one in the household who instills discipline in the children and course correct the sons whenever they start to wear off the metaphorical road. Us men need to be able to follow before we can lead. Monkey see, monkey do. We learn from our fathers or father figures by observing them, but many times we don't realize that we're learning by seeing. Father figures are supposed to lead by example. We adopt a lot of approaches in life by observing how they approach things in the past. How we communicate, how we socialize, how to love, how we solve problems, and how we cope with stress. Essentially, our fathers provide us with a framework to life and a standard to live by. Without a father, we have to seek out role models and figure out what we should be doing on our own. Simple things you can ask your father figure about, you have to instead seek those answers on your own, without any help. Without such a role model, you're not set up for success, but for failure. The kids who lack father figures usually find a missing piece within the circle of their friends. Fatherless boys or boys who lack real father figures tend to, just like Jamie, go into gangs and generate the missing masculinity within the gang. But the problem is, what the hell does his friends know about real masculinity? Young men can however find a missing piece of masculinity in books, sports, and movies because the image of the father is fragmented and distributed within the community, but it's not comparable to having a real supporting father or father figure present.
How much of that, though, in terms of growing up without a father, sometimes not being with your mother, do you lament on and look back and say, damn, I missed something big?
Everything. I know for a fact that had I had a father, had I had someone, and I hate saying this because white people love hearing black people talk about this, but had I had a father, had I had some of these opportunities, I'd have been able to help my mother more. She wouldn't have went the road she went. I could have been a better son. You know what I'm saying? She wouldn't have went that road. It was the absence of my father. You know what I'm saying? I'm dealing with him being daddy not being there. My mother's dealing with him being my man not being there. You know, so many problems in our community that affect everything.
Generally speaking, without the encouragement of your father, the world tends to be a scary place. It's very difficult to be a courageous person unless you have your father in body and spirit behind you. Something we can actually see in Jamie, spiritually speaking. Because a real father would have allowed Jamie to focus on being a kid. A real father would have allowed Jamie to focus on school. A real father would have allowed Jamie to do sports, chase girls, and other leisure activities. A real father would impose the highest standard of behavior from him, always judging what he's doing, but judging in the way where he brings out the very best from Jamie to come forward, to make him feel safe and strong so that he can face any number of things in life and know that he will be strong enough to bear it.
I feel like it's taught me so much, and I feel like nothing can faze me. You know, nothing in this world, nothing can surprise me. It might set me back, but only momentarily, only to spring back. And I think it's helped me to learn. It really did. The importance of facing each situation as it comes and not dealing in a fairy tale land. Being realistic about the problem and analyzing it and solving it. See what you can do to solve it. So if you have a happy childhood, you tend to want your child to have a happy childhood. So you tend to want to keep the bad things out. And I don't think that's good because you don't prepare them for the world.
I believe young men need standards, discipline, love, and encouragement. 4 traits that Jamie tries to instill in his brothers, but also 4 traits that he himself seemed to have lost out on in life. You don't actually transition into becoming a man or a woman until someone is more important than you. Yes, this is a small dig towards all the men and women out there who call themselves kings and queens, but their circle of concern is so small that it only fits themselves and all their personal needs and belongings. In my opinion, you have to first be able to take care of yourself. Then, the bigger or larger the circle of concern you have, the more of a man or woman you are in my eyes. Circle of concern in this context means the amount of responsibility you take on yourself. That's not to say that you can't carry yourself and treat yourself like someone who deserves to be loved and cared for. But respect is not something that you're given, but rather something that you earn over time. And from my own findings, it usually requires that you get out of your own wallowing and self-pitying and instead go out with the goal of trying to make yourself, the world, and the people around you a better place to be amongst. Because the more responsibility you take on, the more meaning your life has. And the higher degree of responsibility that you agree voluntarily to try and bear, the richer your life will be. And that's one of many things I truly admire about Jamie, even though he doesn't make all the right choices. He's not the type of guy who throws his arms up in the air and gives up on life. Instead, he goes out to the world with his head held high and tries to face his own challenges head on. So to summarize my analysis, what can we take away from Jamie's story? 1. You're always going to have a hard time influencing someone when you yourself haven't lived out your own words, or even worse, if you're doing the complete opposite from what you're saying. 2. Having an aim in life is important. If you are unfortunate to not be born with good role models or any role models at all, try to seek out someone who you can relate to and who challenges you to raise your own standards. Remember that there are plenty of people out there who have been dealt a similar hand in life to yours, or even worse, and who still were able to come out on top. 3. At some point in life, you will need to assess your deficiencies and build yourself up to who you want to become. If you grew up without a mother figure or a father figure in life, your starting point will most likely be lower in comparison to those who grew up with their parents. Like Jamie, you will need to build your basic foundation for life on your own. I liken it to having to program your own operating system to use your computer when others in life already have an operating system installed. The silver lining is that if you can overcome the statistical probability of failure and succeed in your work and personal life, you're likely very capable of helping others and identifying issues and problems to help them. Before I end this video, I would like to ask you, yes, you, for a small favor. If you find this video even the slightest enjoyable or educational, I'd be really glad if you expressed it by liking or commenting this video. I work very hard and I put a lot of effort into these videos, so I'd really appreciate if you took the time to subscribe and hit the notification button, but only if you actually think these type of videos are engaging. And like I always say, I'm sure I haven't captured the entirety of Jamie's psychological profile and all of his brothers and siblings too, but I give my best. And there's probably a bunch of you out there who don't agree with my analysis, and that's fine. Whether you disagree with me or not, I'd still like for you to comment your thoughts or phrase your own analysis down below, and let's have a discussion about it. Also, if you have seen this show already, don't forget to comment what your favorite moment or quote is. And from now on, I'm actually taking on suggestions on who I should analyze next, so make sure to comment who you think I should analyze next down in the comment section down below. With that being said, thank you so much for watching. Peace.